There's a growing theory about the Kellen Moore interview and the Dallas Cowboys that, if true, it could validate Troy Aikman's harsh criticism of the Dallas Cowboys. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Mauricio Rodriguez here at A to Z Sports Dallas. We know who the Cowboys interviewed to be head coach, and that was Kellen Moore, Robert Saleh, Leslie Frazier, Brian Schottenheimer. If we look at it closely, two of those faces were familiar to the Cowboys. Schottenheimer, offensive coordinator between 2023 and 2024, and Kellen Moore, same position, 2019 to 2022. Now, here's the interesting part of it. When the Cowboys interviewed Kellen Moore, he was the no doubt favorite because the Joneses knew and clearly liked Moore. And Moore, well, he grew up in the Dallas Cowboys organization, right? Quarterbacks coach, obviously backup quarterback at first, then quarterbacks coach, then offensive coordinator. And when they hired Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore stayed on board as OC, and he was the play caller for Dallas. So there was a mutual respect and love there. So when the Cowboys set that interview for Kellen Moore, I honestly thought, well, it's going to be him. He's the favorite. There's no doubt about it. And, well, since the Brian Schottenheimer buzz began, it's been clear that was not going to be the case. But since then, I've had a theory that that interview went in a similar fashion to the Mike McCarthy negotiations, where it wasn't the Cowboys turning the candidate down. Maybe it was Moore telling the Cowboys, thank you, but no thank you. And I'll be clear, I don't have any inside information to back that up. It's just a theory of mine, and I know some people have shared this theory online as well. And then Ed Werder from ESPN went on the Dallas Cowboys media mash and interestingly brought up the fact that that interview didn't even last 3 hours, the maximum allowed by the NFL in these Zoom interviews with coaches on playoff teams. Here's exactly what Werder said. First of all, I don't think they spent a whole lot of time interviewing Kellen Moore at this point. They've had a 3-hour maximum and they didn't come close to using all of their time. And he added, you assume that they know him quite well. He was their quarterback. He was their assistant coach, a draft pick. That being said, they have a 3-hour limit at this point to conduct a Zoom, a guy who's about to call plays for the Eagles against Washington, and they cannot meet with him again until their season is over, and they did not use all 3 hours. They did not even come close. Now, let me be very clear. Even though Kellen Moore knows the Cowboys and the Cowboys know Kellen Moore, under 3 hours is ridiculous stuff. Honestly, there's a lot to go over in these interviews. How they go, it's usually the coach laying out a plan for everything. And I mean everything. OTAs, minicamp, training camp. What's the preseason plan going to be like? How's the game planning going to go on a week-to-week basis on the regular season? It's so much information. They knew Kellen Moore, the OC. They never really knew Kellen Moore, the head coaching candidate. In contrast, Brian Schottenheimer talked to the Joneses about 9 hours in total between two meetings, one on Tuesday, another one on Wednesday. So I got to bring it up. Who turned down who on that interview? Or was it just a fake interview? But why would they go out of their way for a fake interview if you're already set on Brian Schottenheimer? I think these are all valid questions. And I think if Kellen Moore did turn down the Cowboys, then it would validate Troy Aikman's harsh criticism of the franchise. And I'll get to that in a second. But first, conference championships are up this weekend, and I got to share with you my play of the week over at Underdog Fantasy. You know it, Underdog Fantasy is the #1 fantasy sports platform, and you can use your projections to win real cash with them. And reminder, use promo code ATOZDALLAS for a deposit match when signing up for Underdog Fantasy, and use the link attached in the description in our social media and in our comments. My play for the week, come closer. Khalil Shakir having lower than 54.5 receiving yards. First time they faced the Chiefs in the regular season, Shakir went crazy. But now Trent McDuffie is likely going to be on him. Shamari Connor was his matchup in the regular season. That is a totally different matchup, right? I think Steve Spagnuolo is going to zero in on Shakir. I think he's going to keep him under that receiving yard total, and that's my play of the week with Underdog Fantasy. Let me know what you've got in the comments. Now, as for what Troy Aikman said in the postseason in the wildcard round about the Cowboys, he said, as far as the Cowboys being a coveted job, I don't know that's accurate. The Cowboys are obviously a high profile team, but most football people that take over as head coach, they want to do it on their terms, and that is hard to do in Dallas. Imagine Kellen Moore walking into that interview and him being told, hey, we want Jason Witten on this staff. That might have been a deal breaker. And again, I'm just speculating, but Kellen Moore, if he did turn down the Cowboys, I think it validates everything that Aikman said. I think that if Kellen Moore turned down the opportunity to come back as the head coach and try to steer Dallas back into the championship days, if he turned down that opportunity, then that explains a lot. That explains why the Cowboys basically only interviewed Brian Schottenheimer seriously to be head coach of the team. It is what it is. But for now, we head into the conference championship games, and the Cowboys, man, it seems like it's the Schottenheimer era in Dallas. See you soon.